Welcome back to lecture 18.1, where we're going to discuss what's known as the Clausius theorem. Okay, and this is all going to pertain to reversible versus irreversible. But let's leave that for the title of 18.2. So we'll call this the introduction to the Clausius theorem. Okay, so let's remember where we were last time. Last time we were had derived this idea that we could come up with some function, which was dq over t, which we said for a reversible process, right? So this, remember, the r was for a reversible process because dq is, path dependent. And now this tells me that I have to go over a full loop. That we defined as the change in entropy was 0, right? So this was related to the entropy, which we called S. And we talked about how we had really only defined changes of entropy, right? So a change in entropy over a particular path, right, might be the entropy at some state B minus the entropy at some state A, right? So that would be the integral along some path from A to B, dq over t. Okay, so the entropy is going to be defined this way, and the point is that the entropy only depends on the states, A and B, and that entropy is a state function. Okay, so it can be a little confusing because entropy is a state function, but the heat is not, and the heat is path dependent, but the entropy isn't, and that's what we really have to explore and make sure that we can really get a good handle on that idea, okay? So one thing we can think about as a starting point for really understanding the entropy and how to think about the entropy is rephrasing the second law, right? So the second law rephrased in terms of entropy simply is that the entropy of an isolated system increases in an irreversible process and is going to be, but is constant in a reversible one. In a reversible, let's just call it a reversible process. Okay. So, the entropy, there's going to be some key, just like when we had our original phrasing of the second law, we had to look very carefully at the words. We're going to have to do the same thing here. The entropy of an isolated system, so we're going to have this keyword isolated, we're going to talk about a lot, increases in an irreversible process, but is constant in a reversible one. Notice I didn't say 0. The change is 0, but the entropy is constant. So SB minus SA would have been 0, right? Because those would have been constants. Okay. Now remember that our definition of the second law, or the concept of the second law, led us to Carnot's theorem, right? Which was that the efficiency of a Carnot engine, right, was TH minus TC over TH. Right? We said that this was for an ideal gas, but we proved in a previous lecture that, let me see which lecture, this is in lecture 17, probably lecture 17.1. So in lecture 17, we proved that this had to be for all Carnot cycles, right? All Carnot cycles had to be equivalent. but the efficiency of some general engine was always less than or equal to some Carnot efficiency, right? That is, a Carnot efficiency was the most efficient you could be, but in general, right, our efficiency would be defined as QH minus QC over QH. All right, so this was general, but this was, writing in terms of temperatures, was specific for a Carnot cycle. So let's rewrite these. So we can say QH minus QC over QH. So we're going to plug that into here. Is less than or equal to TH minus TC over TH. Remember, this is the hot temperature of the hot reservoir and the temperature of the cold reservoir along those isotherms in the Carnot cycle. And this was the heat that flowed in during those isotherms and the heat that flowed out during the isotherm. Okay. Now, remember, one key feature is this. We had defined for a Carnot engine that this was heat flowing out was a positive and hence the minus sign. Okay, so we'll change that to be consistent with our definition of this here in a second. Okay, so we're going to simply now rewrite that. So let's put our TH on this side and our QH on that side. Okay, so we're going to say QH TH minus QC TH is less than or equal to QH TH minus QH TC. All right, I just took the TH over here and distributed it. QH TH minus QC TH is less than or equal to QH TH minus QH TC. Good, checks out. Those are all H's, even though they look like N's. Okay, now you can see that these are identical, right? And so we can get rid of both of those terms, and we can put this one on this side and this one on this side. So this says QC TH is greater than or equal to QH TC. Let's just divide again. So we're going to have, QC over TC is greater than or equal to QH over TH. Or we could say, QH, just make sure I've got my sign right. QH over TH minus QC over TC is always less than or equal to 0. Now, putting back our original sign convention, right? Because this sign convention for the Carnot cycle, for thinking about heat flows, right? Really, we need to now really equate this with our thermodynamic variables. So this says that QH over TH plus QC over TC is less than or equal to 0. Okay, so we could actually make that more general, right? We could say that as we sum over all the processes in a cycle, right, that QI over TI was less than or equal to 0. And even in the Carnot cycle, that was true because our Q's were 0, right? Or that the integral over closed loop of dq over t is always less than or equal to 0. Okay? Now, this is the statement of the Clausius theorem. And what we're going to find is that the equal is only for reversible processes. Reversible process. And for all other processes, it's going to be less than. Okay? So if we have less than, this less than sign is going to be what leads us to irreversibility. Some ways you can think about, this inequality. So sometimes this is also called Clausius's inequality. And I really like that idea of calling it the Clausius inequality because you really see that like when it's equal, you can go backwards and forward in processes. They're reversible in time. But when you have that inequality, they're irreversible. And it gives us that times arrow, that directionality of processes in time, which we were talking about before. That there are certain things we simply can't undo. That time is moving in a particular direction. And it really comes from that inequality there. Okay, so next time we're going to actually talk about this in terms of reversible and irreversible processes.